Long before men carved kingdoms from stone and steel, before even the stars had settled into their thrones, there was only silence. In that silence, where time drifted without purpose and space curled in on itself like a dream unformed, something awoke. It was not born in the way living things are born, nor summoned like the gods who sang themselves into being. She simply was. A woman of shadow and sorrow, with skin like onyx moonlight and hair that flowed like spilled ink into the void. Her name was Azhareel, first of her kind, last of her name, and the being who would come to be feared as the mother of demons. In the beginning, Azhareel wandered the outer rims of creation, unseen and unjudged. She listened to the cries of dying stars and cradled forgotten prayers that no god dared to answer. She was a collector of sorrow, a weaver of silence, a witness to all things abandoned. The gods, who grew bloated on worship and weary of the darker emotions of their creations, saw her and gave her a task: to carry what they could not. They forged a great obsidian vessel and poured into it every cast-off sorrow, every untamed fear, every primal rage and carnal desire too shameful for the heavens. They called it the Heart of Shadows, and they sealed it in her chest with words no mortal could speak. Azhareel bore the weight of the vessel with grace. For a time, she remained silent, wandering the empty spaces between worlds. But emotions, even when imprisoned, are not lifeless things. Over eons, they whispered to her in voices that sounded like her own. They pressed against the walls of the vessel, bleeding into her soul like ink into paper. Loneliness sharpened into longing. Sorrow fermented into fury. And from this slow poison, something began to stir within her, a need not just to carry pain, but to give it shape. One night, as comets danced through the sky like fireflies and the world slept beneath a veil of starlight, Azhareel wept. Not in grief, but in defiance. Her tears struck the earth and did not vanish. They grew, twisted, cried out in voices not her own. Her firstborn demon rose from the soil, a creature of smoke and flame, with wings of ash and eyes full of hunger. She named it Maereth, the first grief. From her breath came more: Selax, the whispering flame; Jhurak, the horned maw; Inzara, the veiled blade. Each demon was a living piece of her raw emotions given flesh, her children born of brokenness. At first, she loved them as a mother does, tenderly, protectively. She taught them to speak, to walk the land, to admire the beauty of storms and mountains. They were not monsters to her. They were misunderstood souls in a world that had no place for the unwanted. But to mankind, who had only just begun to understand the meaning of gods and death, these beings were abominations. They saw only claw and fang, not the yearning inside. They took up sword and fire, and they hunted the demons down. Villages grew bold, armies marched. Forests burned where the demons once danced. Azhareel cried out to the gods for mercy, but they turned their faces away. Her task had been to contain suffering, not unleash it. In their eyes, she had betrayed her purpose. Something inside her broke. She gathered her surviving children and vanished into the howling mountains, where even birds refused to nest. There, in a hidden veil of eternal dusk, she built a throne from the bones of the dead. She crowned herself not as queen, but as protector. And from the shadows of her sanctuary, she began to reshape the world. The demons multiplied, some through dark rituals, some through the twisted echo of Azhareel's will. They grew in number and fury, no longer content to hide. They spread across the land, not merely killing, but corrupting. They whispered into the hearts of kings, poisoned the dreams of poets, and infected temples with doubt. The world began to rot from within, and wherever suffering bloomed, the demons fed. Azhareel watched from afar, at once proud and horrified. As the centuries passed, her children changed. No longer did they remember her songs or her teachings. They warred with one another. They killed without purpose. Some even tried to usurp her throne. Azhareel, once the sorrowful mother, became a tyrant to her own blood. She bound the worst of them in chains made of silence and flame, but it was too late. Her legacy had taken on a life of its own. The gods, at last stirred by the chaos, descended to wage war upon her. They could not kill her, for she was not truly living, but they could seal her away. With blades of pure light and chains forged from the sun's own fury, they bound Azhareel beneath a mountain older than time. Her throne crumbled. Her children scattered. Some say she sleeps still, dreaming of the world that might have been. Others say she whispers through the cracks in the earth, calling to those who still feel unwanted. And others believe she will rise again, not to destroy, but to reclaim what was taken from her: the right to grieve, to love, to be seen. In the darkest corners of the world, cults still whisper her name. They do not pray for power or gold. they pray for understanding. For somewhere deep in the soul of every broken creature, there is a shadow that remembers her. A voice that calls out not for vengeance, but for belonging, and so the legend endures. Azhareel, the mother of demons, not a monster, but a mirror.